favorite shirts.
Wait, my hair's in the way.
I need me a goth bitch like that.
Wow, shut the fuck up. It's just the part where the intro fades in where it's like, it's like, you know
This
what I'm talking
nigga
about?
went, is it the part where it goes,
No, it goes like. Hi, sisters!
channel's over, it's done. Spooky stories.
Spooky
Skeletons and shivers down the spine.
Part 2.
Well, I missed the cue for that.
Time to tell spooky stories.
Again.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Bitch.
Alright, I don't know about you guys.
Oh,
No.
fuck me.
But
I just
I-
saw the title.
I'm rather endowed when it comes to creepypastas.
Endowed?
Endowed. But I know a little bit about creepypastas.
I don't, because I don't like them.
I have gone on like the Reddit After Dark, whatever the fuck it's called.
No
Like,
sleep.
that's what it is.
I have no sleep.
And I've gone on it a couple times, and then I've read it, and like the name implies, no sleep. I was up all night.
So we're gonna read Laughing Jack. He's up there with like Slender Man and shit.
Is this the one? It's like
Pasta?
the big ass smile.
I prefer
Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff the
I'll
Yeah,
say
he's one of them too.
particularly.
Okay. I was gonna say, is they're like similar, right?
Anti-pasta?
They're
Like-
all like the same thing.
Pasta daddy. I think it looks like Ryuk and Light if they had a baby. Does he just like laugh at them as they die? Like, what is this?
Can I have a sip of that?
Call me dad.
I'd rather dehydrate.
Laughing Jack. Alright, it was a nice summer day. My 5-year-old son James was playing outside in the backyard of our suburban home. James has always been a quiet boy. He plays by himself mostly. He never had many friends, but he has always had a wild imagination. I was in the kitchen feeding our dog Fido when I heard what sounded like James talking to someone in the backyard. I'm not sure who it was he could be talking to. Could he have finally made a friend that just appeared in the fucking backyard? Could you? His mom was like,
he
this
have
is a fucking
finally
Hold
loser.
on.
made a
I gotta
friend?
say something. First of all, Fido, that sounds about white. Second of all, this really was like, my kid's a fucking loser.
Just like, did he finally make a fucking friend? This nerdo?
Oh my god.
Being a single mom, it's hard for me to always keep an eye on my son, so I decide to go outside and check on him. So she leaves him alone by himself. quite
Bye-bye.
often.
He's 5. What the
Kid's
fuck?
dead.
He's fucking.
That's how it starts.
When I went into the backyard, I was a bit confused, because James was the only person back there. Was he talking to himself? I could have sworn I heard another voice. James, it's time to come inside, I called out to him. He came inside and sat down at the kitchen table. It was about lunchtime, so I decided to make him a turkey sandwich. James, who are you talking to out there? I asked. James looked up for a moment. I was playing with my new friend, he said, smiling. I poured him some milk and continued to pry, as any good mother would. Does your friend have a name? Why didn't you ask him to have lunch with us? I asked. James stared at me for a moment before replying. His name is Laughing Jack. I was a bit taken back by what he said. Oh, that's a strange name. What does your friend look like? I asked, a bit confused. He's a clown. He has long hair and a big swirly cone nose. He's got long arms and baggy pants with stripy socks, and he always smiles. I realized my son was talking about an imaginary friend. I suppose it is normal for kids his age to have imaginary friends, especially when he has no real kids to play with. It's probably just a phase.
Why do they keep reminding us that this kid is lonely as fuck?
Second of all, when they said baggy pants, all I can imagine was this like creepy pasta with his fucking pants.
I thought, see, what I was thinking of was like, you know, the
Hammer,
thing that's like,
the MC Hammer pants.
no, the thing that's like an anatomy of a thug.
It's like this
Whole body. That's immediately what I thought.
The rest of the day went by as per usual, and it was starting to get late, so I put James to bed. I tucked him in, gave him a kiss, and made sure to turn on his nightlight before I closed the door. I was pretty tired myself, so I decided to go to bed not long after. I had an awful nightmare. It was dark. I was in some kind of rundown amusement park. I was scared, running through an endless field of empty tents, broken down rides, and abandoned game huts. The whole place had a horrible look to it. Everything was black and white. The prized stuffed animals all hung from nooses in the game huts.
That's racist.
All with sick grins stitched on their faces. It felt like the whole park was looking at me, even though there wasn't another living thing in sight. Then suddenly, I began to hear music play. The sounds of Pop Goes the Weasel being played on a squeeze box echoed through the park. It was hypnotizing. I followed its tune to the circus tent almost in a trance, unable to stop my legs from moving forward. It was pitch black. The only light came from a single spotlight shining on the center of the big top. As I walked toward the big light, the music slowed down. I found myself singing along, unable to stop.
What?
The monkey, though, was all in fun.
What the fuck?
The music stopped right before its climax, and suddenly the lights shot on.
Men.
The intensity of the lights was practically blinding. All I could see was a small dark silhouette shuffle towards me. Then another one appeared, and another,
That's
and
weird.
another,
Another one.
and another one bites the dust. There were dozens of them, all coming toward me. I couldn't move. My legs were frozen. All I could do was watch as the haunting figures drew near. As they got closer, I could see they were children. That's horrifying.
It's just a bunch of kids
hold
being
on.
like, "What's a good pussy boy?"
Hold on. That's in caps.
They were children!
Oh my god, they were children. And they were children. Oh my god, they were children. All I can think of is the John Mulaney, like, 8th graders are the worst. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. That man got feminine hips. No, that's the thing I'm sensitive about.
That's all this nightmare is. As I looked at each one, I noticed they were all horribly disfigured and mutilated. Some had cuts all over their body. Others were severely burnt, and others were missing limbs, even eyes. The children enveloped me.
Enveloped.
Enveloped. They enveloped me.
You can singlet envelope.
they put me in a fucking envelope.
Clawing at my flesh, dragged me to the ground and tearing inside me. As the children tore me apart and I faded away, all you hear is laughter, horrible, awful, evil laughter. She shouldn't have any more kids.
That's honestly, no, that is a really, that is like an irrational fear of mine, that I'm gonna have a kid that's like fucking like looking in a corner like, "Mommy, meet my friend Jack," and I'm gonna just like spike him into the ground or something.
Just fucking football your kid across the room.
What if the best friend, like Jack, was Jack Black?
Oh my god.
And as, hold on, and as the children tore me apart and I faded away, all I could hear was a skadoosh.
Fucking Kung Fu Panda comes out of nowhere.
This big boy. I'm being attacked. All right, where do we leave off? Oh,
I woke up the next morning in a
Move
cold
this nigga.
in a cold sweat. After taking a few deep breaths, I looked over and saw that a few of James' action figures were positioned facing me on top of my nightstand. I sighed. James, James had probably woken up early and put these here.
This nigga 5, how we finna reach?
I gathered up the toys and made my way to James's room. However, when I opened the door, James was sound asleep. I just shrugged and placed the toys back into his toy box and headed out to the living room. A little while later, James woke up. I went to relax in the living room and I must have dozed off because I woke up a couple hours later. Shit, I need to check on James.
Gotta find my kid.
I was a bit worried. It had been over 2 hours and I haven't checked on him. I stepped out into the backyard.
Stepped out to the backyard. Step on the beach. Step on the beach.
looking ass.
But James wasn't there anymore.
What?
Well, no shit.
Your kid's dead. You left him alone for 2 hours. He drank bleach. He's gone.
A white van came and picked him up. That's what happens when you leave a kid outside.
The white van's waiting like, "Hello, we abducted your kid."
I was getting nervous, so I called out to him. James! James, where are you?
James.
Just then I heard a giggle come from the front yard. I rushed to the gate around to the front of the house. James was sitting on the sidewalk. I breathed a sigh of relief and walked over to him. James,
Lock your fucking doors.
how many times have I told you to stay in the backyard? James, what are you eating?
What? Oh my god, it really cut out in the backyard. James, what are you eating? Hold on, it wasn't even like a
fucking dog. What's in your mouth?
It wasn't even like a hyphen. It's backyard.
Dot.
Like that's like backyard.
James looked up at me, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of hard candies in all colors.
Yo, I
This kid got
swear to
ecstasy.
God. Somebody gave him Molly. Somebody said, "Get tight, little kid."
James pulled out and he was like, Mom, check these out.
Just Mom, real quick.
James is like,
This
stay
made,
sassy, bruh.
this made me very nervous. James, who gave you that candy? James just stared at me, not speaking. James, please tell Mommy where you got that candy.
Tell
Candy
Mommy
man
where she can
says
get
he
some of that
mixes it
candy.
with love and makes
James
the
hung
world
his head
taste
down and
good.
said, Laughing Jack gave it to me. My heart sunk. I kneeled down to look at him in the eye. James, I've had enough of this damn Laughing Jack thing. He is not real. Now this is a very serious situation. I need to know who gave you the candy. I could see my son's eyes tear up, but Mama, Laughing Jack did give me the candy. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. James has never lied to me, but what he's telling me is impossible. I make him spit out the candy and I throw the rest away. James appears to be fine. Maybe I'm just overreacting. After all, he could have gotten it from Tom and Linda from next...
From Tom.
Could have gotten it from Tom and Linda from next door. Or Mr. Walker down the street. Mr. Walker sounds like a creep.
Mr. Walkway.
Mr. Walker sounds like the nigga who has candy. with
Mr.
him.
Walkway.
Just not for the good
Mr.
reason.
Walk down me, I'm the walkway leading me to the building. Fuck you.
Either way, I'm going to have to keep a closer eye on James. That night, I put James to bed as usual and decided to go to bed early myself.
I feel like maybe you should have decided to keep a closer look on him when you fell asleep for 2 hours and you thought your child disappeared. I feel like maybe that's the turning point.
Could you imagine going to the police being like, help, I lost my son. Okay, ma'am, when was the last time you saw him? 2 hours ago, I fell asleep. Like, ma'am, what the fuck?
You're like, bitch, what?
Suddenly, I was woken up by a loud bang coming from the kitchen. Bang into the room, I know you won't.
That's it. It's like
This is Jesse.
Ariana Grande, Jessie J, Nicki Minaj, like on the countertop. Like,
I sprung out of bed and hurried down the stairs. When I got to the kitchen, I was horrified. Everything on the counters had been thrown on the floor, and our dog Fido hung dead from the light fixture.
Bitch, what?
Why you gotta kill the
Wow,
dog?
she just hit the fan real quick.
Why you gotta
It
kill
went
the dog?
from, wow, James has
Hold
some
on.
weird candy to someone fucking put a noose on
Hold
my
on.
dog's neck.
The candy don't stop there. His stomach was cut open and stuffed with candy. The same type that James was eating earlier that day. My shock was quickly broken by a sharp scream coming from James's room,
Burn down the house.
followed by loud crashes.
You
Burn
gotta
the
throw
house.
the whole kid. You throw the whole house away.
I quickly grabbed a knife from the drawer and moved up the stairs with the speed that only a mother whose child in danger could have. But bitch was sleeping while her kid was outside. Okay.
Only a mother. How?
I burst through the door and flicked on the lights. Everything in the room was knocked over and tossed on the floor. My poor son in his bed crying and shaking with fear. A pool of urine
Urine.
a pool of urine staining the sheets.
Sailor Mars. Sailor Japan. Not sorry.
I scooped my child up.
It's so pee.
Mommy, help me! Don't touch me.
She got pee.
And ran out of the house and went next door to Tom and Linda's house. Luckily,
Tom was just like, yo, your kid, you got PPH, your kid coming down.
what smells like asparagus?
You got pee. You gotta go.
Luckily, they were
You can't touch the door.
Luckily, they were still awake. They let me use their phone and I called the police. It didn't take them long to arrive
Oh,
and explain
Jesus.
what had happened. They looked at me as if I were crazy. They searched the house, but all they found was a dead dog and 2 trash rooms.
That's not. Is that not suspicious?
I know.
All they
found. No big deal.
The officer told me that someone had probably gotten into the house and done this right before making a quick escape when they heard me coming up the stairs. I knew it wasn't true. All the doors were locked and none of the windows were open. Whatever was in my house didn't come from outside. The next day, James stayed inside. I didn't want him to leave my sight. Oh, now you don't want him to leave your sight. Alright.
She's got enough sleep. She's okay.
I went into the garage and found his old baby monitor and set it up in his room. If anything comes into his room tonight, I was going to be able to hear.
Why don't you just go in the room with him?
Well, obviously, the ghosties wouldn't be making much noise if she was in the room.
Isn't that like
So you want it to fucking stop? Like,
No, she's a white mom in a fucking horror story. She wants to get down to the bottom of the mystery.
Let's get down to
business to defeat the Huns.
Alright, go ahead. Time is racing towards us.
I was going to be able to hear it. I went to the kitchen and grabbed the largest knife in the drawer and I put it on my nightstand. Imaginary friend or not, I'm not letting anything hurt my little boy.
Except for negligence.
Soon enough, night came. I put James to bed. He was afraid, but I promised him that I wasn't going to let anything happen to him. I tucked him in, gave him a kiss, and turned on the nightlight.
That's gay.
Before closing the door, I whispered to him, "Good night, James. I love you." That's gayer. I tried to stay up as long as I could, but after a few hours, I felt myself drifting off. When this bitch falls asleep, nothing
Everything
good
happens.
Like, literally.
You should really just decide to make the conscious decision to just not.
My baby would be safe for the night, and I needed to sleep. How do you know that, though?
She said, "Nah, he'll be fine. I'm tired."
Just as I laid my head on the pillow, I heard a soft noise come from the baby monitor. I put on my nightstand. At first, it sounded like interference, like the kind of a radio would make. Then it turned into a soft moan. Was James asleep? Then I heard the laugh from my nightmare, that horrible laugh. I sprung up from bed and grabbed the knife from under my pillow. I rushed over to James's room and creaked the door open. I tried the light switch, but it wouldn't come on. I took a step in and I could feel the warm, thick liquid on my feet. Suddenly, James's nightlight came on and I could see the absolute horror laid out in front of me.
Pause really quick. What if the laugh was actually just this dude like... Imagine it wasn't anything
It's
scary.
a Joker laugh.
That was what I'm saying. It's a Joker laugh.
You still sound like a pterodactyl.
That's the point. So does Jared Leto. Jared Leto actually sounds like a cellar door.
Are you guys ready to...
That's literally what he's
All right, let's see the absolute horror that laid.
Alright, y'all ready for this? Alright. James's body was nailed up on the wall, the nails piercing through his hands and feet. See what happens when this bitch falls asleep?
Why don't you take her, bad mother?
His chest was cut wide open and his organs hung down to the floor. His eyes and tongue had been removed along with most of his teeth. I was disgusted. Just disgusted.
That's it.
I could hardly
It's a little gross.
I could hardly believe this was my baby boy. Then I heard it again. The soft, desperate moan. James was still alive.
What?
Waffle on, bitch!
No, there's no. I call bullshit. There's no way someone's
Excuse me,
still alive.
receipts?
My baby, my poor baby, in so much pain, barely clinging to life. I ran across the room and vomited on the floor. I bombed all over the place.
Alright, I bombed on the floor.
But my sickness was interrupted by a horrible cackle coming from behind me.
Ah! Oh my god.
Ah!
The pause.
I spun around, but then out of the shadows emerged the fiend responsible for all this horror. Laughing Jack. His ghost white skin and matted black hair hung down to his shoulders. He had piercing white eyes, surrounded by dark black rings. He twisted...
Raccoon.
His twisted smile revealed a row of sharp, jagged teeth, and his skin didn't look like skin at all. It almost looked like a rubber or plastic. He wore a patchy black and white clown outfit with striped sleeves and socks. His body itself was grotesque, his long arms hanging down past his waist, and the way he was poised made him look almost boneless, like a rag doll. He let out a sickening laugh.
What?
What was that?
Oh my god.
Imagine that just from the corner.
Really French?
As if to let me know he was pleased with my reaction to his work.
So he's French now.
He then turned around slowly
Headcanon.
in front of James and began to laugh, even more at the horrific sight he has laid out. That was enough to shake me from my terror. I snapped. "Get away from him, you bastard."
You fucking...
What are you, Mark Wahlberg?
You fucking rat bastard!
I rushed at the monster, raising the knife above my head and stabbed down at him, but as soon as the knife touched him, he disappeared in a cloud of black smoke. The knife passed right through and pierced James' still beating heart, splashing the warm blood on my face. This bitch just killed her kid.
Good boy!
You dead boy.
No, what have I done? My baby. I killed my baby. I immediately fell to my knees. I could hear sirens in the distance growing
Who
louder.
called the cops?
My boy, my sweet baby boy. I
That's
promised
so
Mommy would
nice.
protect you, but I failed. I'm sorry, James. I'm so sorry. Police soon arrived to find me in front of my son, still wielding the knife covered in my baby's blood. The trial was short. Insanity, of course. I was placed What the what?
Philanthropist?
No, the
Firopolis.
Firepola.
I don't know.
Pussy House for the Criminally Insane, where I've been for the past 2 months. It's not so bad here. The only reason I'm awake now is because someone is playing Pop Goes the Weasel outside my window. I'll talk to the orderlies about it in the morning. That's the end.
So was Laughing Jack even real, or did this bitch just kill her kid?
She was a horrible mother.
I really think he was just a raccoon man.
Bad parenting and Raccoon Man aside, what did you guys think of the story?
It was not written well. I mean, it wasn't bad compared to Mr. Widemouth. I liked the ending to Mr. Widemouth more.
I like Mr. Widemouth as a whole better.
We should make our own.
Nah, because it's literally just gonna make me go like,
actual pasta?
and this big ass nigga decided to come out the cut and say, "What's good?" That's the whole thing. That's all of it.
Well, alright, if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and request a new story for the next video.
Are we
Boogity boogity boo.
Oh my god, Macklemore said no.
Boy.